So we are almost ready to start. And yes, we're starting.
Everything that lives is designed to end. We are perpetually trapped in a
So yeah, the intro is pretty long. We will have a lot of talking from 2B on here.
Who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle, and wonder if we'll ever have the chance.
So they're starting out in the flight unit, and they have a shoot 'em up section at the start here. And yeah, for this shoot 'em up, for the shmup sections, basically what they want to do is kill all the enemies on screen as far as possible. You don't need to kill them all. If you don't kill them all, they will leave the screen again and despawn, and the shmup will advance too. But if you kill them, that's way faster than waiting for them to despawn.
12H down. All units activate manual mode and rely on visuals to evade.
Already engaged. Free movement unlocked.
Origin point of long-range lasers confirmed.
So you will see the runners getting intentionally hit by the lasers. They do that because we get a bunch of recovery items and buff items for the prologue, and we want to use the attack buff items later on in some of the prologue bosses, but we don't really need the recoveries, so we waste them because that makes menuing for the buff items later on a little bit shorter. It's just a very small time save, just a couple of frames, but it's basically free because you just use the quick menu to waste the recovery items, and you're basically done. It doesn't take any time at all. You don't really need them, so even while it does not save too much time, why not just go for it?
Multiple surrounding enemy air units confirmed. Requesting permission to assume mobile configuration. Permission granted.
So yeah, now you can see on Dan's side already, and Mash only a little bit behind him. The other configuration of the flight unit, basically in the shoot 'em up sections, they will switch between those two quite often. Yeah, it's just a different style. In both forms, you basically want to do the keep pot firing and just to do some more damage. And in the mobile configuration, the one they're right now, they want to use light attacks because they're pretty fast and get rid of all of the bullets. And in the stealth mode, that's the plane-like mode that they are in right now, they want to use heavy attacks because they are pretty broken. They have a pretty long attack animation, so you can get rid of all of the enemies on screen pretty decently. So we see Dan is at the moment a very small amount in the lead, but I think that's just because of the longer load times that Mash has to endure on PS4. So yeah, and especially this far into this little bit into the run, everything's still open to see. Dan is on the fidget spinner, as we call those enemies. Now is Mash. They control you. They can, depending on RNG, they can be pretty mean, but they weren't for any of them, so yes. Now you can see the ground combat. We landed in silo, and you will have seen both of them swap their weapon sets. They're using the second weapon set. That's because in the second weapon set that you get from the start, you have the small sword equipped in the heavy weapon slot. And that's the setup that we use for the entirety of the run, because the small sword in the heavy slot is entirely broken movement-wise and also combat-wise. So it gives us some of the fastest movement in the game, and it also gives us a really good amount of aerial moves. So all of the high jumps and long jumps that you will throughout the run are possible because of that weapon set. Also, the small sword gives us access to what we call damage glitch, and basically we have an attack that deals damage over time, but user should only deal 1/5 of your weapon's attack damage, but with the damage glitch it deals full damage, so basically 5 times the damage that we would usually deal. And that's what's making the fights in this speedrun really fast. And that's what we want to use for all of the fights, especially for the boss fights. So yeah, that's why we have the weapon set. And yeah, on Mash's side, Dan already did it, is the first movement skip, and Mash failed it for once. Yeah, it's called crane skip. So basically you should shoot down that iron plate and go around, but the runners just jump on top of the iron plate with a high jump and then over to the crane, and they basically just skip a bunch of walking with that. Nothing too major. Dan, on the other hand, is now on bridge skip. Bridge skip is one of the most difficult skips in the run, and it's only 7 minutes in, as you can see. And even the most experienced runners can easily fail that one. It's a high jump, and it's a really close high jump. So all of the inputs are pretty precise. If you press buttons too early, you don't get enough height. If you press them too late, you don't get the combo attacks that you need to get that. And one of those combo moves, for example, is the lift. You've seen it at the start you will see it at the start of most high jumps. And that, for example, is a jump input followed immediately by a heavy input. And you can see it on Mash's screen right now. That first move that he does from the ground, that is the lift. And the longer you delay the heavy input after the jump, the more height you get it. But if you wait too long, then you don't get a lift at all. So yeah, Mash also got it. I think he's about half a minute behind at this point, which is not really much. Can really easily catch that up. And Dan is on the last silo fight, so he's out of it now, and he will be on the end boss of the prologue already.
I surveyed the entire factory, but couldn't find anything resembling our target.
And Mash seems a bit lost out of bounds, apparently. Yeah, he was a bit lost. Fell into that lava. Not too bad, but he just needs to take the regular route now. A bit more movement, a bit slower. Nothing bad. Nothing really bad. And that's actually true for most of the skips in this run. So if you fail one of the skips, or if you're trying to learn the run, which is pretty amazing, you should do it if you're interested. And so many of the skips, if you don't know how to do them, it's faster to not to do them at all. And Dan now is on the Marks 2 fight. You saw this boss once before. Now there's 2 of them. But they only have to kill them out the way and the fight will progress. So yeah. Dan is already finished and he now enters the boss fight. And this is Engels. Yeah. Engels is it's a boss fight. Most runners probably don't really like it. And that's because most of the fight is on a timer. So this first phase, no matter what you do, it always takes exactly the same amount of time. And there's some few moments in the fight where the length of it does not depend on a timer. But the length of those entirely depends on RNG. So we don't really have much control about how long this fight takes, and that's why it makes it pretty annoying for the speedrun. So yeah, Mesh is now entering the Marks 2 fight and should be on Engels in only a little bit. So Dan finished the first phase, the timer one, and this attack that Engels does now is random, and Dan got lucky. He got a ranged attack. The ranged attacks are the fastest, and there's a move that we call punches. If we get that by RNG, that's really unlucky because we lose 20 seconds without any control over it. Mesh, on the other hand, not too comfortable with the Marks 2 fight. He did not get it in one cycle only. But he should make it during the second one. Yes. Okay. Marks appear to have hidden out of bounds a little bit, but Mesh shouldn't take too long with this one. Danflesh on the other side, he did a little swag out of bounds, basically. He jumped on top of that pipe, and he fell down now. Going onto that pipe doesn't save any time, but it basically makes Engels unable to hit you. So we just go up there and chill a little bit, and yeah. So Dan now is climbing Engels and going to rescue 9S, and he will enter a bunch of stubby machines. We call them ninjas because, for one, they just jump out of the sky, and the other thing is they really like to dodge the attacks we throw them at them. Yeah. Also, you could see an attack that those stubbies do pretty frequently. We call it whirly arms. It's the attack where they just fling their arms around, and it's annoying because the hitbox is pretty big, and the reason why we don't like it is the most annoying thing is the damage glitch that I mentioned earlier. It's basically a dash followed by a heavy attack, and if you do that, execute that in the correct time frame and windows, then you get that 5 times damage. So, but that dash, the problem with whirly arms is if you're too close to the stubby and you dash to do a damage glitch attack, then you get a perfect evade instead, which is annoying because if you can do a perfect evade, and after a perfect evade you can do a counter attack, but 2B's counterattack is not really useful and it's pretty slow and
Control.
we don't really want to get it.
Seized from enemy unit. Marking weak point.
Got it.
So Danflesh is now back in the flight unit for the last section of the boss fight.
Control system.
Affirmative.
And I think he got decent RNG. There is a little
Behavior taken.
RNG dependent that can lose you up to 11 seconds if you're really unlucky compared to when you're really lucky. But he got decent RNG and now capturing one of the arms kills Angles, and that's out of prologue for Dan. That's a 1530 prologue, which is decent. Mash on the other hand is just now climbing Angles to get up to 9S, so
Yeah.
still not too much behind.
I-
Having a little bit of trouble with the skip there. I think he has problems with the double lift, so usually you jump up there with a double lift, which makes it pretty easy. So what at this point I should explain what a double lift is. A double lift, I already told you what a lift is, and you usually only can do a double lift once after touching the ground or going off the ground.
Ma'am?
So if you lift off the ground, you cannot do a second lift, even though you have a second jump.
Okay.
But if you do the first lift up a slope, for example, like those stairs, then after the lift, you are on the ground for a little bit of time, and that resets your lift so you can do a second lift. And that's what we call a double lift.
I-
If you're skilled enough, you can also do double lifts off of chests or even guardrails and stuff, but that's way more difficult than just going up a slope with the first lift.
You need to be near an access point to save your data.
On
You
slopes,
can
a
see
double lift
access
is
points on the close
pretty
range
easy
map.
as soon
Be
as
sure
you
to
know how
save
to do
often.
it. So Dan is in the bunker. He got out of the setup. Setup is annoying. We need to change a couple of settings. It's actually a pretty nice introduction from the game into the settings menu and stuff.
Usually we can't
But
get near flight
we're
units.
speedrunners, we don't
Way
need
too
introduction,
expensive
so
for
it's
us
just
grunts.
annoying.
Too bad they can't mass produce these things yet.
And Dan is now entering the hangar, grabbing a flight unit, and leaving the bunker again for another shmup section.
Hey, 2B, why do you think they sent a combat model like you to a recon job? If all they want is intel, we scanner models are built for that kind of thing.
Orders are orders.
All right, all right.
You're going to have some new weaponry installed from here on out. I'll put up instructions for you. Make sure to commit them to memory.
Roger.
So they now got access to the pod program in the flight unit. And pod programs are kind of special attacks that you can do with the pod. The pod is the little robot flying behind you and doing the shooting stuff. And while in the flight unit, the pod program is these missiles that you saw from Dan there. They deal quite a lot amount of damage,
2B, come in.
especially if you can get a lot of hits with them.
Down quite a ways from the resistance,
And
unfortunately.
yeah, so they're quite useful, and they also have a cooldown, so they cannot spam them. But later on, they will pick up a second pod, which gives them which has a separate cooldown from the first one, so they have two missiles or lasers. On the ground, the pod program is the laser, so they will have two lasers. Mash now finished the prologue 2, and he is running through the setup stuff and bunker stuff now,
Location acquired. Marking on map. Proposal.
while
Proceed to target
Dan
location.
makes his way through through the ruined city and towards
According to our
the
intel, none of the machines
resistance
in this area
camp.
are hostile. We've been seeing more and more enemies like this lately. They just stand there and stare into space. It's pretty weird. So this is the resistance camp, huh? We should probably go talk to their leader first thing.
So at the resistance camp, Dan now has to pick up 2 side quests. Those side quests aren't entirely side quests. They are kind of a thing in between, a mix of a side quest and a main quest, because while they are side quests, you have to do them for the main quest to progress. Again, this is kind of the introduction of the game into what side quests are. We don't really need those, but basically we have to grab some supplies for the supplies traders and for the weapon trader. And the quest for the weapon trader gives us, as a quest reward, all the materials that we need to upgrade our sword to level 2. So that's actually quite useful.
Let's get these back to the trader. Plant life has claimed most of the central area. Big plants too.
Report. Records show that vegetation
Yeah, Dan picked up the stuff for the first quest and is now on his way to those machines. He needs to kill 3 of those 5 machines, have the materials that he needs. But yeah.
Okay, that's everything.
He got them all, is now heading back to the resistance camp.
Man, these chores are a real pain in the butt, huh?
The Resistance is a valuable ally to your hub. By helping them, we also help ourselves. So no, I don't think they're a pain.
Yeah.
Mash on his side, on the right side now, is also left the bunker and is heading towards the resistance camp. He's on those 2 fidget spinners now. Let's just hope that he does not get killed by them. It's not too difficult to get killed by them, especially since at this point in the run we don't have any recovery items. So you cannot get too reckless. Later on in the game we will have quite a lot of recovery items, so we can get quite reckless and just use a bunch of them once we get damaged.
For location specified by resistance leader.
Understood, 042. Placing marker on target. The desert heat is going to make resupply efforts difficult, 2B. Please make sure you're ready before you go.
So, while Mash is now heading towards the resistance camp, Dan is one step further and heading towards the desert, where he is supposed to look into some machine activity and, well, kill a bunch of machines. So you can see Dan at this point doing some shopping. He is picking up the sachet, which makes animals not run away from you, which is quite useful if you want to use one of those. He's picking up 1 animal bait, because we do want to use 1 animal later on for some faster movement.
A general idea is good enough.
Animals are pretty fast in terms of movement, but it does take a lot of time to pick one up, so we don't use it too often. Yeah, then he also picked up some offensive buffs, some recovery items, and a plug-in chips. One plug-in chip. Plug-in chips in this game, they are, you can equip a different setup of them and change them, and they basically give you buffs like more melee damage or a critical hit chance. So you can. That's actually chips we hope for later on to get our hands onto some of them, because critical hits deal another 5 times the damage. So that's quite useful.
This sand sure is slippery.
And the chip that he picked up there was resilience. And what resilience does is if you get hit by an enemy attack while your HP is over 80% for the level 0 chip, then you don't get knocked back, and you don't stagger, and you can immediately do a reaction to that hit. So we basically use it so that as soon as we get hit by anything, we can just use a recovery item, heal all the damage we took, and we're fine. Mash had some problems jumping over the barricade, but he finally made it. And picking up his gadgets for the weapon trader quest, and is now heading towards the supply trader. Dan on his side is now making his way through the desert, coming up to Stupid Rock. This is a skip that has some weird movement. He got a pretty good one. Good job there, Dan. So basically, at some areas in the game, if you plunge into them, you get some weird
What's that?
weird collision stuff that propels you forward really fast, and that's one that he used there. But the one that he used there is pretty precise, since he needs to plunge at a specific point in time while the machine you saw there dives underground, because only then he can actually progress forward with that. Yeah, now he's on to Desert Housing Skip. And please do not try this at home. Well, please do try this in home if you own the game, but do not try this in real life, because concrete walls are supposed to be more solid than the ones we're seeing right here. And oh, he messed up there, is falling now, which is a good decision. So basically there's 2 triggers that we need to hit. One is in the tunnel, and he got that one just now. And the other one is up on that platform. And if you fall down into the pit without hitting one of them, or without hitting both, you basically get stuck down there, and it's a sequence of really difficult high and long jumps to get back out of there. But so it does lose a lot of time, and if you don't know the backup strats, depending on whether you need to set up the desert camp transporter or not for safe scum later on, you have to reset either to the beginning of the desert or to reset the entire round, because you don't have a save point at all. Mash is transporting something there. He did a save and load. I don't know what for. I think his machines acted funny. Probably, I sadly couldn't see what happened, but my guess is that one of the enemy drops fell into the rock where he couldn't pick it up and do the quest, so... which is also pretty annoying. Dan now is on the boss fight of the desert. His name is Adam. And he's not yet very smart. That will change pretty quickly throughout this the playthrough of this game. But that doesn't change anything at the fact that he really likes to talk. And Dan actually got a small cutscene skip there, a small phase skip. Nothing major, but it's nice because the phase that he skipped is pretty annoying. And overall he's having a really smooth Adam 1 fight. And it's over now. So that was pretty fast fight. Pretty decent one.
Come on, through that hole.
And Mash got unlucky because that save load that he had to do triggered a dialogue with the operator for a side quest. And apparently he could have skipped that one with the door, I think, but apparently he does not know about that, or didn't think of it, which for both of those I wouldn't blame him, because usually that does not happen in a run. So yeah, he just had to wait a little bit there before he could talk to the traders again. But yeah, he delivered his side quests now and makes his way towards the desert just as Dan is leaving it. And Dan is doing another out of bounds there. And he messed up the movement a little bit, which is sad. But he should be able to, yeah, just recover from it with the ward out. And now he's doing a long jump out of bounds over here. And what he did with that is he avoided a dialogue trigger at the end of this cave. And because he did not trigger the dialogue, he just can do a save warp back to the beginning of the desert. So he skipped a bunch of walking and a bunch of dialogue. And Mash probably won't go for that, I guess.
Maybe we should.
It wouldn't be too bad, and because actually that save scum on PS4 is actually slower than walking because of the huge load times of PS4. Mash is going for the old strats, and yeah, Mash has not run this game in a while, so his knowledge of the speed strats is about a year old. So on the right side you're gonna see a lot of relatively old strats that have been where we found fast strats over the time, but not yeah.
Looks like our surface route's been cut off. Maybe we can get so 2B. Those machines out in the desert look just like androids, right?
Right.
But we androids were modeled after our
Dan is now heading towards the amusement park.
There's no point trying to work out unsolvable
I
problems.
suppose.
Yeah, he's supposed to look for some missing androids there. And right at the beginning you will see him do a high jump at that route. So with that he skipped a small cutscene. Again, this cutscene skip, it probably saves maybe not even 5 seconds, something around that. It's not really too difficult if you know how to do it. So we just go for it, and if we fail it, it's not too bad. Now he's at Let's Play skip. That skip actually saves a bunch of time. And he also got their first try on this side. And yeah, that long jump he did was over a very, very long void out zone, a huge gap out of bounds. And it's not only a really long jump, you also have the problem that while you cross that distance,
Analysis. It is a device that
he has to maintain his height, otherwise he won't hit the ground and will void out too.
roller coaster.
So,
Sure are strange creatures.
pretty decent that he got that first try. He's on the roller coaster now. It's basically a little auto-scroller. We found a skip recently, not to...
People who know me well usually call me Nine.
that does not skip this auto-scroller part, but it
What do you think?
it makes it so that while the roller coaster is going, we can do other stuff, which is quite useful but pretty difficult to execute. So I can't really blame him for not trying that. And Mash having some trouble with the barricade skip and not quite getting the correct angle to clip out of bounds. At this point, he's just a little bit too much to the right. So let's see how long he keeps trying on. Oh, he got it. So, and he is going for this, or he is not.
What the hell?
I thought he was going for discovery skip, desert discovery skip, but apparently he is not. After clipping through that barricade, you can do a bunch of movement out of bounds to skip this little cutscene that he's on right now, but it's really difficult and not really worth it if you fail it even once. Dan, on the other hand, now is on the boss fight of the amusement park. He got a very clean first phase. And now we get a look at the hacking minigame. And that hopefully was the only instance of hacking in his run today. In A, and hacking is very present in the B ending route. And throughout parts of the C ending route when you play as 9S, but we're not gonna see that today since this tournament race stops after ending A.
This ends now.
So, and he got hacked again. Those crucified androids that are around there, those can hack him, and basically, oh, he got hacked once more. Yeah. So you don't want to get hacked there, because if each time you get hacked, you don't gain anything from it, and it loses you time because you have to finish that little mini game. But still, it was quite a decent time, and using buffs and damage glitches, he basically obliterated that boss's health bar as soon as it left the stage, and the next phase finished it easily and did the self-destruct. That was a really clean boss fight, aside from the 2 times getting hacked, but even with that it was pretty fast. And yeah, at the end you could see him doing a self-destruct, and what a self-destruct does is it creates a huge explosion that deals some damage, but it also puts you at only 1 HP, and that's actually the reason why we do it at this point. Because we want to do a death warp really soon, and being at 1 of HP makes dying way easier than having full HP. So yeah. He actually used a small recovery there. That's a small optimization because it makes him able to use self-destruct later again, because aside from being useful for a death warp, self-destruct has also some pretty broken physics mechanics that makes some skips easier. And that's why he used that recovery there, so that on the way later on he will be able to use self-destruct to make a certain clip easier, because while being at only 1 HP, you cannot press self-destruct.
Well, there are a few theories about that.
And
no one knows for sure. Hard to tell what
yeah, Dash is now
thinking, you know?
that. Okay, mixing up both the names. Dan is now heading towards the village of peaceful machines. I really cannot talk, can I? For the village of peaceful
Looks like they really don't
machines,
wanna fight.
and there he's gonna talk to Pascal and pick up an item for a fetch quest. And Mash actually picked up the Fang of the Twins. It's a weapon that he picked up, and at this point I don't really remember what kind of weapon. And yeah, that's some really old strats, and
We can get
I
into the
don't
secret
really
rooms
know
if we
those.
loot that box.
I'm not that long in the community, so yeah, we're seeing some interesting
Time for your regular
speed strats from the past at this point from Mash.
2B here.
So
Oh,
Dan at this point is picking up an animal
but when I asked her
to go back to the resistance camp where he needs to deliver the item to that he got from Pascal.
honestly, 2B, I don't know how
And Mash is entering the Adam 1 boss fight
The person to discuss this with.
that Dan beat earlier.
I don't think I can stand spending one more day in this bunker.
So I think we have
Bad for me. It
about
would affect mission efficiency.
10 minutes difference. A bit less, I think, but yeah,
Are you saying
Dan has quite the bigger lead.
All Model B combat
And-
units require the assistance of a
Yeah,
worker.
his personal best time
2B?
Dan's
And that's all. Closing this
is
channel.
also way better than Mash's, and Mash has not run the game for a while. But even though Dan is ahead now, and even by quite a bit,
He just started
that
transmitting
does
to us
not mean that he will win this, because there's quite a lot of things that can go wrong in this game. Some difficult skips that can troll you and lose you time, or even some soft locks, which make you restart the game from an earlier point.
Well, what?
And
He just started transmitting to us directly.
yeah, that loses quite an amount of time. Or if you're really unlucky, the game can crash upon you, and yeah, that can lose. At some points, we have in some races we had points where a game crash lost a person 20 minutes. So, and that can happen really easily. But even without those unfortunate
A Goliath.
circumstances, you can lose a bunch of time. So this race is not over
I
yet,
promise you.
and it won't be over until both of
Command's
them
deploying new flight
defeated
units for
the
us.
final
I
boss.
just sent the coordinates, so let's get going.
On it.
So Mash now managing his inventory and equipping the Fang of Twins. It's a greatsword, and probably gonna use that for dealing damage. And yeah, maybe I should mention double damage glitch. So I mentioned earlier, if you have a small sword in the heavy attack slot, you can do a damage glitch. A glitched attack that deals 5 times the damage it's supposed to deal.
Yeah, no.
And we actually also have a double damage glitch, and you do that basically by equipping that setup in both of the weapon sets and switching weapon in between. And
The flight units should be on the roof of that building.
yeah, Mash is not using double damage glitch, and he's using the large sword
We should be careful.
instead to deal some damage, while the glitch damage attack is doing its thing. Dan is now at City Angles, so you remember that huge machine at the end of Prologue? It's back, and there's actually 2 of them inside the city. And yeah, we have to kill them both. At least the game wants us to kill them both. We don't actually have to kill them both. Because for the first fight there is a skip. So let's see if Dan is able to pull that off. And he did not get the fast strat, the fast version with the double jump out of the gap there. And he's also struggling with the high jump version. So this high jump actually is pretty difficult because you have to do a pretty difficult high jump while being attacked by angles. So it wouldn't surprise me too much if he gave up at this point and tried to kill angles. But it seems he wants to try for it a little bit more. And yeah, so with the lead he has, it's not too bad. Yeah. So Mash on his side is now finished. Yeah. Then I think Dan now is fighting. I don't know. Mash is now after defeating Adam is heading out of the desert and not doing the save scum again. It's a new strat that he does not know too much about, and also it doesn't actually save time on the PS4 because of the increased load times that he has to face on that. Dan, after a while, got the high jump out of there and might have been faster to not do it, but he did it anyways. It always feels good to skip that boss fight, even if it wasn't too fast. So he's now heading towards the second angles fight, and there he's gonna use his pod program, the missiles, with some attack buffs to basically two-shot the boss. There it is. And he finished 2 of them. And you can still see that the boss had some health left, but that health bar actually is the health bar of the first angles. So yeah, that's why it's still there. And yeah, while Mash is heading towards the amusement park, Dan is heading towards a cave that opened in a collapse during, or rather after the boss fight that he just did. And yeah, there he's gonna face an annoying boss fight.
Our intel team is hard at work.
But it seems to be underground. Like way underground.
Guess we'll see once we get there. If we're lucky.
You're not much for plans, are you, 2B?
So Dan is now entering the negotiations fight,
For a long time.
What
and
is this place?
we will see
There's nothing like it
Adam
in
again,
place.
as well as his brother Eve, that we did not see yet in this speedrun. We should have seen him earlier, but we skipped the cutscene where he appeared. So Adam has a brother, his name is Eve,
You.
and we're fighting them now.
Can I kill him yet?
Relax, Eve.
But,
We're still
well,
negotiating here.
while it pretends to be a fight,
Fine.
it's not actually
My name is
one,
Adam.
because
The aliens you seek are no longer here.
this fight, once more, is based on a timer, or on a dialogue,
Quiet down.
rather. So,
Who knows?
I mentioned earlier, Adam likes to talk.
Androids next. Machines
So,
and weapons capable of evolution.
yeah, he's talking a lot right now,
grow. We can
and
become
this fight will go on as long as Adam keeps talking. So we just wait for him to stop talking, and while we wait, we also kill Eve once, because if we manage to kill him once before Adam stops talking, we get some bonus experience, and we do like experience, so we try to kill Eve. Killing him a second time does not give you any more experience, so not even worth trying. But what we can try is, and I think Dan is trying to, but he's struggling a bit. We can escape this fight by going out of bounds. Escaping the fight does not save any time, because we still have to wait for the dialogue to finish, and after the dialogue finishes, our position gets reset back into the cave. So, but in theory, if he managed to escape the fight, he should be able to. Yes, he got the first part, but he does not have enough time remaining to leave the cave. He could have killed a bunch of machines there, getting some extra experience, or he could have picked up a chest with 3 titanium alloys, which, if he gets lucky with enemy drops, he can use those to upgrade his sword to level 3. But yeah, if we don't go for that too often, yeah, he just went past the chest. Because getting the level 3 sword, for one, it depends on RNG, which makes it not really reliable, and it also changes a lot of the out-of-bounds clips that are coming up. So while a stronger sword is of course faster in combat, it can lose a lot of time if you cannot use the backup strats or the alternate strats for the clips. So yeah, Mash is now in his Beauvoir fight, and he's equipping some plug-in chips for damage, I think.
Man, the commander sure is a slave driver, huh? And now we have to go back
and yeah, he's probably not gonna get the really clean first phase that Dan got because of him not using damage glitch. Yeah. Yeah, Mash is having a somewhat slow fight against Beauvoir. Dan on his side is now back at the village. He's talking to Pascal. And after that, he's gonna go towards the forest, which is the next section of the game. But before going there, he's gonna go a little bit shopping, selling some items he picked up and some plug-in chips that he does not need, and instead buying a bunch of recovery items and some stronger offensive buffs than the ones that he had before. And now he is transporting towards the city ruins transporter. If you leave the village normally, there is a cutscene with a mother machine and her child machine, and it introduces you into a side quest, but we don't want to do the side quest, so we skip that cutscene. No, they are playing the same difficulty, so the bosses should be the same. they should have the same levels. Unless they missed out on some routing stuff, then.
Well, yeah, but
So they are playing the same difficulty,
this
they're
job can be
both
pretty
playing on
rough
normal.
sometimes, huh? This must be the commercial structure
Mash is
Pascal was
just,
talking about.
he's an older runner,
Say
has
there's
not
lots
ran
of
the game for a
facilities
while,
or
so he's
shopping
using
center.
some older strats. And
Nope.
it's also quite rusty, so that's why he's that far behind at this point. And you could see Dan just there talking to 9S, and he talked to 9S and walked into a cutscene trigger, into a dialogue trigger, and doing that skipped the dialogue that was supposed to trigger at that point. Yeah. And Dan is now heading into the forest. So the forest itself is not much to do here. So we're just gonna see some optimized movement towards the castle where we have to go next.
I'm aware of how to fight. You just be careful.
So I missed what... Oh, Mash apparently died. That is a huge setback for Mash, dying to the boss there. Really unfortunate.
Don't listen to what they're saying, 2B.
Yeah. So Dan is now approaching the castle. And we're probably gonna see a skip towards the castle, skipping an annoying cutscene. I'm not sure, there's 2 skips that you can do. One is more difficult but faster. And it seems like, yeah, he's doing the easier one. It's called Mario's Kart skip. Basically what he wants to do is, with that flange movement there and the self-destruct, he wants to reach a drown zone that respawns him inside the castle. So on the other side of the... Yeah, there you got it. So he now respawned on this side of the river instead of the other side, skipping some movement and an annoying cutscene. And he's going out of bounds there. Going out of bounds at that point is pretty easy, either with a pod launch or you can even just punch the wall at a certain point and go out. And we're now at the castle, and the castle is huge and it's kind of like a labyrinth, and it has these nice windows in the back. So what we can do is just climb up those windows with some pretty basic high jumps, and we're on top of the castle. And with that, he already finished the castle. He's going back to the transporter at this point because there is a story trigger that he needs to hit, and now he's at the boss fight of the forest. And Mash seems to have run out of recovery items, I think.
That's an android. A Yorha type
Yes, but he managed to finish his boa fight.
android. Annihilation?
Dan, on the other hand, now is facing A2, a rogue Yorha android, and a pretty tough boss fight. A2 is pretty strong and pretty fast, so pretty dangerous fight, but he's doing quite well.
But she
deserted us. She's destroyed multiple pursuit androids. Now kill her before she kills.
and he finishes the boss fight against A2. And the game wants you to follow A2 and jump out of the window, but outside of the window there's a long dialogue, so we just go the other direction. The game, of course, wants to prevent you from going into the other direction with a dialogue trigger that turns you around and basically forces you to go out there, but Dan just jumped over that, and Nash seems kind of lost. He missed the way where he needs to leave, so he's gonna pick up his guide again.
It'll be faster.
Let's that one lead him towards the village.
Let's stay sharp and head back to the resistance camp. We should run a check on our consciousness data and resupply.
Dan, after an hour, is finished with the forest, and that's 1 hour RTA, so that's actually quite a good time that he is on there right now. Not sure how it's compared to his PB, but it is a good, decent time. So he's heading back to the resistance camp, talking to the resistance camp leader.
Why did you ask Pascal about A2?
Huh?
It's not recommended to interface with machines without consent.
And yeah, up next is probably one of the most boring sections of the game. Well, probably the most boring section, and that's Grun. Grun is an casually playing, it's an awesome boss fight, but in the speedrun it's a 15-minute long auto-scroller. And yeah, pretty boring. And you saw Dan just jumping on a pile of boxes and getting out of bounds that way. And it actually is that easy to go out of bounds and reach Flooded City. And this is a skip that if you own the game and are into breaking games, sorry for that. So if you own the game and if you want to try some skips, try that out of bounds, jumping at those boxes in the resistance camp. It's fun and it's really easy. So now Dan is at the shore, killing a bunch of machines there, and then he's entering the Grun boss fight. Mash on his side is looking for some animals that took really long to spawn in for him. And apparently got scared by him. But there, he got a boar and is now riding towards the resistance camp to pick up his or to deliver his item from Pascal and doing the fetch quest. And Dan now is in the shmup, leading up to the Grun boss fight. So yeah, again, like I said earlier, the shmup is just trying to kill all of the enemies as fast as possible to advance the shoot 'em up sections a bit faster. But that only works at the start of this section. Once he actually reaches the supply carrier, all those shmup sections will be on timers, and killing them fast or not killing them all does not make any difference. He will still try to kill as many of the machines during Grun as possible to get the experience from those fights. But yeah, it's not really, it doesn't give him any advantage speed-wise. And Mash is now doing his death warp, and unfortunately the boar decided to run away from him instead of just killing him. which made it a little bit slower.
Our escort ship has taken damage and is unable to engage. We're currently resisting with all remaining support fighters, but we can't hold them off for long. I repeat, this is Carrier Blue Ridge 2. We need immediate backup from any available android forces.
Yeah, so Dan now reached the carrier. So from this point onward, he basically is on a, with a few little exceptions, is on a 15-minute long auto-scroller. MASH now is delivering the item from the resistance camp to Pascal. Skipping some dialogue, talking to Pascal, and then he is on to his own City Angles fight,
I'm picking up a large scale
killing the
inbound.
two big
Looks to be
machines.
2.8 clicks southwest of us.
So
Enemy aerial unit destroyed. Reverting back to area recon.
Wait,
Dan
I'm
just
still
killed
picking up a large
the
enemy presence.
Didn't I kill them
Goliath
already?
flyer,
What on? If it's that big, we should be able to
and yeah, now we will see Grun. This is Grun. Grun is annoying, he is slow, and
Is that
don't get me wrong, casually it's an amazing boss fight, but
huge.
especially it's some amazing music, but in the speedrun it's kind of boring. Well, Mesh on his side is walking towards the first City Angles fight, doing a slightly different route. Get there.
It's blocking close range attacks with EMP blasts. We've got to find another way to damage it.
2B. Command is attempting to launch a satellite laser strike on your target, but the enemy's electromagnetic camouflage is making it impossible to aim. We need you to find the emitter and take it out. Oh, is that all? I know, but it's the only way.
Yeah, so
Destroy the generator
right now not
quickly.
too much to talk about. Like I said, Dan is just killing some machines while waiting for the autoscroller to progress. And Mesh is doing some movement, some fast movement here to reach the first of the two City Angle boss fights. And let's see if he also gets to skip one of those, the first one, and let's see how fast. If he does, let's see how fast he does. So
Enemy data obtained from command.
Go ahead.
The only known record of this machine life form is a lone sighting.
and
120 years
apparently
ago.
the ladder is trolling him. Yes.
The unit
So you saw him struggling a little bit with the ladder here. Ladders in this game are pretty annoying.
were annihilated.
And yeah, he also didn't get the double jump one.
We're screwed.
Let's see if he gets the high jump faster than Dan did. But he's also having problems with that, so... It appears he just decided to kill him normally. Not too much of a bad decision. This fight doesn't take too long if you use attack buffs and damage glitches, and at this point trying to continue with this skip is pretty difficult and can take quite a lot of time, as you saw on Dan's side of the stream earlier. Dan now is on the first of 3 what we call cores of Grun, and those fight against the cores are the exceptions to the auto-scroller thing, so those cores actually we can beat as fast as we are able to beat them, so we really want to do some fast combat there.
Oh, come on!
But at this point, they also have an RNG element with the smaller orbs that circle the big one in the middle. And you only, at any point in the fight, you can only attack 2 of the 4 smaller cores, and you need to kill all of the 4 small cores to kill the big core to progress. So depending on what movement patterns the 4 outer cores have, you sometimes cannot really attack 2 of them really good, and that can lose you some time.
We've got mortars lining the shoreline here.
So Mash on his side has the normal dad angles as it's supposed to be and is heading towards the second fight. Dan now is at the mortars. So yeah, so basically we want to shoot him once as fast as possible. So that does just NieR. Dan does some more shots there to keep his aiming circle centered, and now we shoot him in the mouth 3 times and progress with the fight. Sadly, that still was not enough to kill him, so we have to keep up with Green a little longer.
That enormous machine is an ancient weapon.
So Dan now is back on the auto-scroller
But it wound up going out
and waiting for it to reach the next core.
the machine's network when it happened, so I remember it.
And Mash on his side now is entering his negotiation section, the long, annoying dialogue fight against Eve. And also Adam. He's there too. Sadly, we cannot kill him. That would make him stop talking, I guess.
What?
Please, 2B, this is gonna work.
So 9S now left Dan alone with Grun. And one thing that's funny about this game is how we earlier left the front lines fighting Grun to go towards the mortar cannon and attacking him with that. And that was totally fine, but as soon as 9S leaves now, Pod wants to report him for desertion, so yeah, doesn't really line up. A lot of the stuff in the Grun fight does not make too much sense once you think about it too long, so my recommendation for it is don't think about it and just enjoy the awesome music when you play it for yourself. This really is an awesome game casually. And Dan now reached his second core. And that is a pretty decent fight and some pretty decent RNG. Really fast kill with the 4 small cores, and now he can just use a pod program on the large one, and he's already finished. That was a really smooth core 2 on Grun. So good job with that, Dan. Mash on the other hand, fighting Eve, and he's having a bit of trouble to get the one kill that I mentioned that he can get on Eve to get the experience. So he's using some attack buffs. And I just read in chat, yes, they do get experience for killing machines in the auto-scroller part, so that's why they even bother with killing the machines and not just letting them pass by. One interesting thing also is 9S in the parts where before he leaves you alone with Grun, 9S can kill stuff too, and whenever your NPC partner kills a machine, you don't get the experience for it. So if you're unlucky, for example, the Goliath Flyer mini-boss fight before starting the Groon, if you're really unlucky, 9S can get the kill on that, and you don't get the experience for that, which is quite a huge loss. And Mash died again. That is really unfortunate. Yeah, Mash is having some troubles with this run today. But again, he's quite an older runner of the game, has not run the game for a while. And he's pretty rusty. Also has been busy with marathons and stuff in the past weeks. So he may be forgiven for being rusty. He has now to do negotiations over again. That's difficult. So yeah, well, Dan is now finished Grun. So it's time to wake up again. And he's heading towards the copied city to rescue 9S. And Dan is now coming up to a pretty difficult skip. And together with the bridge skip in the prologue, this is one of the most difficult skips. It has a pretty precise lineup and he gets it first try. That's actually pretty amazing. Some trouble with plunging down there, but that's just a little bit slower. Overall, first try copied city skip. GG Dan for that. You can really lose a lot of time with that out of bounds skip if you mess it up for a while, and it's really precise. So good job there. And entering the copied city, white city of crystallite, carbon, and silicon.
Analysis. This area is composed of crystallized silicon and carbon.
What's with the corpses?
And we will once more meet Adam here. This is our second fight against Adam self, so we now fought Adam once in the desert, Eve in the negotiations fight that Mash is on right now, and this is the second fight against Adam. And once more, Adam is really talking a lot, and this first phase we just have to wait for him being finished with talking. And that's why you can see Dan doing some out-of-bounds stuff here. And again, this is again a really precise skip, and he just does it first try. So really good job with your copied city stuff, Dan. So what he's doing now is he's going back to the elevator, and he's not supposed to be here during the fight. And inside the elevator there is a dialogue trigger with Pod, where Pod tells you that you have to look for 9S down here.
Prioritize search for 9S.
I know.
And that dialogue overrides the dialogue from Adam, so we just skipped the first phase of the fight, and Dan seems to be ahead of PB. Oh no, time is red now. Okay. He's not using detailed splits apparently. So no, he's not ahead of PB. I wasn't sure which split setup he's using, so he's not ahead apparently. Mash finished his negotiations fight and is now heading towards the bunker, and after some small dialogue is going towards the forest and towards the A2 fight. Dan in the meantime killed Adam, and he killed him for sure this time. Adam wanted to die for some reason, he is really...
Oh, nothing. No. Okay, got it.
I just, he likes death.
This is 2B. Patch me through to the
And
commander.
oh, Dan failed a dialogue skip here, so he has to listen to this commander call. At this point, you can talk similar to the partner dialogue skip that we had earlier. You can talk to that person, and then while talking to her, walk into the dialogue trigger, which skips this phone call that he's on right now.
Assuming we don't encounter any problems. We're planning to partner.
But
Thank you.
yeah, he's using the time to already pass some of the distance towards the factory where he needs to go next. So
Mail notification received from access point.
he lost some time with not skipping that dialogue, but with this, with the movement to this transporter, reading the mail here, and then moving on towards the factory, he did not lose as much time as he could have. So
I suppose he might know
good,
something.
fast thinking and rerouting there. And yeah, that's why it's important to know your backup strats.
I need to know if you've seen any new trends.
Mash is on his supply buys for the forest, and Dan is heading towards the factory and meeting Pascal for some fun inside it. Or not fun.
If that's what they
I don't
want,
know.
why don't they move
The
in?
machines
I believe they're working on a colony of their own.
are do think of it as fun, but they also think that you can become a god if you die. So, and they want us to become. They really want us to become gods and therefore kill us. So.
Sounds good.
Target location data obtained. Marking on map.
Oh, 2B. The machines who seek to form an alliance with my
And I think he tried a skip with a self-destruct there, but he didn't get it, so
Even you?
In truth, yes.
it's a look at strats. Mash is buying his buffs right now,
But I find that language contains many ways to
and
intelligence.
he's doing the old mom skip. This is actually faster than the transport thing that Dan did. Oh no, he's just simply triggering the cutscene. Okay, never mind. You can actually just go here and do a high long jump over the cutscene trigger, which is faster than the transport method that Dan used. But it's way more difficult than just transporting. Also, at this point, we have to wait for that machine to reach the elevator to open it. So Dan is just messing around with some high jumps to pass the time. Also taunting the machine. I guess I never explained taunting. Taunting is another mechanism in this game that we use to gain higher damage output. You can spam the flashlight into the face of an enemy, and if you do that, the enemy enters a taunted state at which he both deals and receives 50% more damage. And so yeah, that basically is another 50% more damage on top of the 5 times damage from the damage glitch and the double amount of damage from the buffs. So combining all of those things raises our damage to absurdly high levels.
Hello, my name is Pascal.
So yeah, he's now just waiting for some dialogue for this cutscene, and now he is in the mooks fight. At this point, he just needs to kill a lot of the mooks to progress, or he can use the skip that he's apparently using now, going out of bounds here and falling down makes him void out, respawn at the top, and doing that despawns all the enemies, which is faster than killing them. But while it is faster, it loses him some experience. So let's just hope that he picked up enough experience earlier in the run to still get level 20 for the final boss. We do want to get level 20 for the final boss. I think it's 5% more damage compared to level 19, if I remember correctly. And you really feel the difference between 20 and 19. But as long as you don't mess up too much, usually, normally you really shouldn't hit level 20. Skipping that Mooks fight that like Dan did just now does set you a good amount behind, but it should be fine if he was good enough earlier. Yeah, up in the room before, you could see him voiding out. That was because once you take the elevator down, it gets locked, but by voiding out, it gets unlocked again, and he's able to take it up again, which makes him able to do the skip, and he messed it up a bit. Yeah, he did. So yeah, what you want to do... What he's trying to do is jump down there, and there's a story... there's a story trigger down there that he has to hit. And what he's trying to do is hit that story trigger.
The door's open.
And he got it now. So what he did is he hit the story trigger, but voided out inside it, which respawned him on top. So he now can jump into the other direction. And oh, that's bad. So yeah, the thing is, the second jump in the other direction he did places him at the end of the factory, but I think he's soft locked. I think what he did by landing on that conveyor belt, he soft locked his game. And I'm not sure if he can recover this other than reloading his game now. I don't know too much about this. I know there's two kind of soft locks. One is no way to recover other than reloading, and I think that's the one he's on right now. There's a different version of it where you can still do a difficult jump to recover, but I think he has to reload now. And he doesn't know, and I'm not sure where his last save is. I don't think he saved at the start of factory when he picked up the mail. I'm not sure. So this can put him back a huge amount of time. Mesh on his side is now climbing the castle, and oh, he fell down. Yeah. So that can happen if you fail climbing the castle. You can fall down like Mash did just now, and yeah, this basically forces you to do the castle normally. Or, well, Mash is just leaving the castle through the main entrance and doing the skip from the beginning again, as it appears. So Mash now on.
Exit route secured.
Yeah, Dan got it. Good job, Dan. Awesome. Dan escaped, and Mash is on his second attempt of castle skip now, so that was really lucky for Dan to get out of there. And yeah, that was pretty decent. And Mash, oh, okay, he realized that he was on the wrong set of windows. So Mash trying to climb the castle again to fight A2, while Dan is now fighting the boss of the deep factory, Soshi. And the thing with the Soshi fight is, at the beginning of the fight, Soshi has this shield, and yeah, he's basically... Soshi at this point is entirely invulnerable. So yeah, we have to. He just has to wait for a timer once more, And
Do it!
Factory system at 80% control.
at this point in the game, what you're supposed to do is run circles on this platform and dodge attacks from Soshi. But Dan got out of bounds on top of this bridge. And yeah, so basically he's just holding A and waiting for the timer to run out.
2B.
Using some buffs and now leaving the bridge at the point where the timer runs out, and he is now fighting Soshi. Pretty clean fight, pretty fast one. Did not get a one cycle and a really bad RNG attack there. But oh, and he broke a leg. Ooh, so he's a bit unlucky now, but he should be finished pretty soon. Soshi should curl up into a ball now and instantly die once he does. So Dan is now finished with the factory. Mash is on the A2 fight. Having a little bit of problems because he does not have his buffs. He fixed that and he shouldn't have too long remaining with that fight. So Dan is now running, and the thing with the running in this game is running at full speed actually is one of the fastest movement, faster than all the other movement that we had in the time before. So the problem is, until you actually reach full speed while running, it takes a lot of time. So that's why running is not really that useful in the speedrun. But at this point, because we have the elevator where we can charge up the run speed while we have to wait anyways, running for this little section actually is fastest. And Dan now is leaving the factory with the same out-of-bounds movement that we had in the prologue. And Mash is doing his A2 dialogue skip. He's having a little bit of troubles there, which is understandable because it's not the easiest.
That was certainly something. I had no idea such a vast space existed beneath the abandoned factory. I need to return and investigate.
Dan now finished his factory,
Perhaps you'd be willing to join
and he now is in the end game with, and that one is basically a boss rush. So he's heading towards the resistance camp now, where he has to fight a little group of machines, and then he has 4 boss fights coming up, and then his run is over.
This is the resistance camp.
Say again? I'm not receiving.
Scanning for interference.
The machine requesting it. Backup. Forces in range. Please.
And Mash really having some trouble. And yeah, Mash gave up on the A2 dialogue skip. So he's jumping out of the window as intended, and you will now be able to see he will have a really long dialogue that he has to wait through. And that's why we skip this with going back there. But yeah, he did not get that, sadly. Dan on his side now entering the resistance camp. The burning resistance camp. Getting attacked by machines. And yeah, there basically is this group of machines in the front of the resistance camp. You can just ignore those. An enemy will take care of those. And you have this group in the back, and you have to kill all of these machines in the back. So yeah, that's what he's doing right now. Killing all the machines while going to the back. And at the back, there will be one Goliath. This one, a Goliath biped that he needs to kill, and Now he's done with the burning resistance camp, leaving out for the boss rush. Mash on the other side, transporting to Pascal's village, and then going towards the flooded city for the Grün boss fight that we had before from Dan's side, the long auto-scroller one. So Dan is killing Bokushi, the brother of Soshi, you could say. Bokushi is a bit more shocking than Soshi, and also he has guns mounted instead of blades in the front. And he had a really clean Bokushi fight, except for the ball form at the end. Got a little bit unlucky, but there we have the vacuum, and Bokushi is done. Which leaves us with the second of the 4 bosses in the boss rush mode. This is Machine Core 1, call it. Just a yellow machine core surrounded by a bunch of dead machine parts, so we just attack it until it's dead. And really smooth fight on Core 1 from Dan there. That was some really good movement. He's just killing some machines, waiting for the cutscene to start. And yeah, now he's heading towards the village of the peaceful machines. Yeah, Pascal gets tagged, so he goes to rescue them. Mesh, on the other hand, now is out of bounds at the resistance camp and heading towards the flooded city. And he had the wrong weapon set equipped apparently, yes, so that's why he messed it up. And I think he's going for a slightly different version of the... Yes, he's going for a different version of the flooded city skip, but having some trouble with that too. But now he managed to do it, get it, got the cutscene, and he now stays down in the flooded city other than Dan, who voted out. Because normally Dan just killed the third boss. That was Core 2, the machine snake. And yeah, that worked pretty fast too. Almost missed it. And he's now going for the final boss, who is Eve. So we're gonna kill Eve again.
We'll take care of Eve.
And this time we're gonna kill Eve for sure.
Everything must die! Why did you kill my brother?
So, for the first phase of the Eve boss fight, we just attack him until his health is gone. Pretty straightforward. Now he's gonna heal himself, and Dan is opting to just wait through the heal and obliterate his health afterwards again. There actually is a skip for phase 2. It depends on dealing more damage to him that he heals. It's pretty difficult to execute and does not save too much time, so not trying there at this point was probably pretty smart on Dan's part. So Mash is entering the Grün shmup, and Dan is on the first phase of the final boss fight, and So for this phase, Eve is flying around, so most of the damage we deal to him is with the Port Fire. And so for the last two phases of the boss fight, basically what you want to do is hold Port Fire, mash Taunt, and heal whatever, use recovery items as soon as you get hit, because some of the attacks can one-shot you, and what you really want to do is to have an eye open for your buffs, because if your buffs run out, Eve can actually two-shot you, and he might be able to one-shot you in the final phase even. So yeah, you really want to avoid that. Also, you can see Dan actually is at level 19 for this boss fight, so he did not get enough experience for level 20, sadly. But that's not too bad. And Dan finished the boss fight, so at this point it's just waiting for Niners to stop talking, and he's done.
It's okay.
So good job, Dan.
My backup data from the bunker.
That's 142-ish. RTA, I don't know what his in-game time is. Probably better than mine. Than my PB at this point. But it was a really clean race. 141 RTA. Pretty decent time. So good job, Dan. I don't know if we will have Dan here for an interview. So
I'm picking up a large-scale enemy inbound.
Yeah.
Looks to be 2.8 clicks southwest of us.
yeah, Mash is on his Green fight, the auto-scroller. Particularly he's on the Goliath Flyer. So he's just using pod programs to take that one out. And he's finished with his Goliath Flyer. And
Unit destroyed. Reverting back to area recon.
Wait, I'm still picking up a large enemy presence.
he's now heading into the Green fight.
If it's that big, we should be able to see it.
Is that a machine?
It's freaking huge.
And there we have the winner of the race. Good job with the race, Dan.
Yeah, thank you. That was pretty, like, decent.
Yes.
Some points. And, like, this run has really decent starts. Like, really decent. Like, I was ahead of PB, I guess, like 30 seconds ahead, or even more, after Beowulf. But then Angels happened, and... Like,
Yeah,
I didn't want to kill him, so I was trying to get skip.
Yeah, I saw
But
that.
it took like 2 minutes, unfortunately, instead of like 10 seconds.
That took really a while. What was the in-game time?
138, 34.
138. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Still.
that's like 3 minutes behind my
Yeah.
PB.
But still, it's even with the mess ups, it was pretty good.
Well, actually, I got 3 golds in a row, like Prologue, Adam 1, and Beowulf.
Wow, that
So
is.
start was really decent, and also
Yeah,
Grun
that
gold.
was really good. So what I definitely wanted to ask you, when you got stuck on the conveyor belt in Deep Factory, what were your thoughts?
For a second, like for the first second, I thought that okay, I will just jump further and will like reach the normal pathing. But then I realized that there is an invisible wall. Then I was trying to clip through this invisible wall a couple times. Then I realized that, well, rip. For a second, I started to think that maybe it's a soft lock. But then, like random idea came in my head, and I tried to go other way, and it worked.
Yeah, so
That was
coming
like
back,
really fortunate.
yeah, that was really bad that you got there, but luckily you were able to recover from that. So
Yeah. Also, like, I guess I had worst RNG ever on Soshi plus Bokushi. Like,
yeah, Soshi and Bokushi were pretty bad. Well, the Bokushi fight actually was pretty decent.
well, except
Well,
like
you
Bokushi did
you
the
had.
laser.
Yeah, he did the laser attack, which is unlucky, but you managed to do it pretty well. So it was an unlucky attack,
Yeah.
but you did really well. Your reaction to that was pretty good, and you
Well,
managed to do it without breaking a leg. On
Soshi was way worse. I never seen actually this
yes,
spin attack.
Soshi was some pretty bad RNG for you.
Yeah, I never seen this in Iran yet, but yeah, something should happen first.
Yeah, so she really.
And also Commander dialogue.
Yeah, Commander
So
dialogue too. Yeah, so.
So I lost like 2 minutes on Angels. I guess 30 seconds on Commander dialogue, or maybe something like that. Like a minute on the
factory. Yeah.
factory skip, yes, and
The
just
factory was
some
really.
time on combat. So I lost like 3 minutes, even 4 maybe.
So, yeah, that time actually for what you did and things and the problems that you had, that time is pretty decent.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, again,
So
good job.
Yeah, thank you. I will wait while Mesh will finish, and I guess.
Yeah, so we'll just wait for Mesh to finish. Mesh
Yeah.
is now on the mortar for Grun, and
as far as I know, Mesh is doing like kind of old route, like really old.
Yes, Mesh is doing. I think Mesh's route he's doing is over a year old at this point. He's doing some very old strats and some very interesting to see strats because.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so no double damage glitch for one.
Is there at least double damage, just damage bleach?
Yeah, he does damage glitches.
Yeah, nice. At least something.
Yeah, and he picked up Fang of the Twins in the desert housings for some extra damage in between the single damage glitches. So some really old strats there.
Yeah.
I actually have seen for the first time in action, I think.
So yeah, I will be right back as soon as Mesh will end.
Yeah. So yeah, Mesh is now doing his thing on Grun. Finished the mortar. So he's now on the auto-scroller waiting for the other two cores that Grun has.
I'm going to see if we can use those missiles back on the shore. But I need you to destroy the EMP unit on that thing's back. Otherwise, they're just going to go...
So, yeah. I mentioned earlier that 9S or your NPC partners can actually steal some experience from you by killing enemies. Some runners choose to set the partner RNG to passive, which makes 9S not attack anyone at all. That negates the problem of the partner stealing experience, but it also makes you lose out on some extra damage that your partner deals. So because you lose the damage, it's slower, but it's more safe because you get to level 20 more easily. So that's up to runner's preference if you want the safe strats or the faster strats. And MASH did his core 2 and managed to pull that off pretty okay, and now is waiting for the autoscroller and core 3. So at this point, I want to say, if you liked it, check out the runners and maybe leave them a follow on Twitch. And also, if you are interested in this, check out the bracket and the schedule of the tournament to see when we will have the next matches so you can also catch that. And yeah, if you're interested in running this game yourself, then feel free to do so. We always welcome new runners. It's an awesome community, I think. I myself am not running this game for very long. And yeah, we have a Discord where you can ask questions and a lot of resources. All that stuff is linked on our speedrun.com page, so go over there, check out all the amazing stuff the community compiled, tutorials and stuff, and also join the Discord and ask all the questions that you have about the game and the speedrun and whatever you want, and there will be a lot of experienced people to help you. And MASH just finished off his core 3, and with that he finished his green fight. So yes, after this loading screen he will be heading towards the copied city.
"2B to bunker. Come in. Over.
Operator to 2B? 2B, are you alright?
Running system diagnostics. Core functionality appears intact.
Thank goodness.
MASH not doing the drown strats there,
In regards to the giant machine that attacked
and
the shore,
walking all the
it
way.
lost its resistance
A little bit
8
slower,
hours ago following
not
your
too
missile
bad.
strike.
8 hours?
However, its EMP strikes knocked out power all across
And
the region. We're having trouble getting them back online, which means data uploading is
doing some
currently
really
unavailable
clean
in the
movement
area.
there
Where's 9S?
towards
Yeah,
the
about that. We picked up a black box reading,
the
but it wasn't strong enough to
copied
lock down
city.
its position.
I'm not sure which strats he will use for copied city clip.
Put in a request to the commander. Get approval
If
to
he's
get
gonna
started.
do the old version or the new one, or if he's doing copied city skip at all.
If you find 9S,
So
okay?
Will do. 2B
let's see
out.
what he's going to do.
Huh.
signals detected. However,
So no version 2 there. Is he going for version 1 or no? He's just going the normal route,
set dynamic scan
which is not too much of a bad idea, especially as a rusty runner. As I mentioned earlier, copied city skip is a really precise out-of-bounds clip,
We've got a number of
and
access points on the field.
so it can take quite a while to get it right. But at the same time,
If you encounter
it
any
doesn't really save too much time going for it.
signals detected.
So actually just not doing copied city skip if you're not feeling consistent with it does save a bunch of time. And yeah, Mash is in the elevator down to copied city and heading towards the Adam 2 fight.
What is this?
Analysis. This area is composed of crystallized silicon and carbon. Further details.
What's with the corpses?
It is unlikely the Yorha units came this far on their own. Hypothesis. The enemy must have placed them here deliberately.
Or we machine life forms,
Yeah.
I suppose.
So instead of doing the what we call mansplaining skip, what is he going? I'm not sure what Mash is doing there.
Charmed I am by their complexity. This city is one of many areas I created out of a desire to understand, to know humans. It's grand, don't you think? Almost.
I think Mash is unsure about
And yet it's
mansplaining
currently
which
more than
block he
an
needs to
android
take.
graveyard.
He realized that he's on the wrong side, but I don't think he's going for it
Some desire love,
too much.
others family.
And Mash is actually fighting Adam in the first phase of this fight, deciding not to do mansplaining skip because he's not comfortable with it, or he just messed it because he messed it up.
This is humanity.
But during the first phase of the fight, you
You know nothing about
don't actually have to fight him. And yeah, that's why now he is hiding behind the block.
Ill of your beloved human
Can just stay here for the entirety of the first phase, wait for Adam to stop talking, and you won't he won't deal any damage to you.
are immortal, invincible, and yet within all those infinite bits of data, there exists not even the merest flicker.
And you can hear Adam really likes to talk a lot, so
the concept of death.
it's really a good feeling that we can skip all that dialogue.
I have severed
So yeah, he waited through the first phase up to the second phase.
Let us embrace death.
So yes, using his buffs and normal combat to kill him. Not sure if he's even doing small sword damage glitches at this point. I think he's trying to.
I don't have time for you. I need
I'm not sure what combat techniques he's using. That's old strats that I do not know. So it's actually quite interesting even for myself to watch this. So yeah, he finished phase 2, now at phase 3. And having bad RNG with his attacks. But closing in on the end of the fight. This attack where these pillars or whatever shoot from the ground That's probably the worst thing you can get, because that attack is annoying. And ooh, he's getting hit a lot there. And that was really close to dying there. But he managed to pull it off. And he finished Adam. The Adam 2 fight at the 2 hours mark. And I think we do have some more time. We have enough time for him to finish the race on speed gaming.
What? Nothing. Not that
If I'm wrong, please tell me, and if we need to leave. But if I understood that correctly at the beginning, that we have no race directly after this, so we can watch Mash finishing his run. So Mash is now heading towards the factory.
What's going to happen to 9S?
And he's going to meet up with Pascal over there and examining it. We saw it from Dan, but we will probably not see Mash doing the skips, I think. So we will probably see a run more close to the intended way of doing factory. So yeah, the reason why you're heading towards the factory is because you get this mail from the commander that tells you to investigate into what happens with
Pascal, can you hear me?
some machine activity. So we talked to Pascal about it, and Pascal tells us about this. About this.
2 days ago, I was contacted by some machines that disconnected themselves from the network. They wanted
this colony of machines in the factory. So you check it out and.
Seeking to form an alliance of some kind with our village.
If that's what they want, why don't they move in?
I believe they're working on building a colony of their own.
You don't say.
They are kind of a religious colony, and they believe that if you die, you become a god, and that makes you.
Sounds good.
And that makes them wanting to kill you because they want to be nice and make you a god, and we'd rather not die. So. Yeah,
Even you?
we're just waiting for him to finish factory. Shouldn't take him too long, hopefully.
It certainly does.
There's quite some scary moments in there where you can die really easily when not doing the or probably the multiple skips that Dan did. Yeah, so we have that machine at the entrance who guides us in, and he really has no understanding of what doing a speedrun means. Because he tells us that we don't have to hurry, but we do have to hurry. It's a speedrun, it's all about being fast. But he does not understand that, and he's just slow. So, yeah, again, we have this downtime, and Mash is just waiting for him to reach the door. And now going to the elevator up to the Mook's room. Or down. I don't know which of the elevators go up and down. It's It's way too confusing.
This far, didn't I? It's my duty to see this through to the end.
Appreciated.
That door leads to this.
Once I accepted God into my heart,
Have I yearned for his grace to light?
may hardship and conflict be forever. Once I accepted God into my heart, I instantly surrendered.
So, Mash in the Mook's room. And
Hello. My name is Pascal.
yeah, we're meeting the leader of the machines.
Peace treaty.
He's God. So, meaning he's dead. So, now they want to kill us too, and
This is shady. Fascinating, though. I have never seen
Mash is not clipping out of bounds, as it seems.
I wonder if there's a way to collect.
Left talk.
He is using some lasers
2B to bunker. We've had a run
and
of hostile machines.
hot fire and stuff to kill those machines.
Escape route.
Fighting those mooks can be scary sometimes because of the whirling arms attack that I mentioned earlier. But yeah. So at this point he just has to kill a certain amount of them. And the elevator will open and allow him to progress downwards towards the 9S room. Yes, he finished the Mooks fight and reached the elevator. So he's now heading downwards to the 9S room and talking to this machine that's hacked by 9S. And I think, yes, we will see him heading through the factory in the normal route. And so we're actually gonna see something new here. This is the intended route for the end of the deep factory. And there's a bunch of machines trying to kill you. But the main reason why this is so scary and why skipping this is so nice, other than the fact that it's over a minute faster to do the skips that Dan did, but there are some crushes in the factory, and I think we will see the first set of crushes pretty soon. Yeah, so the problem with the crushes is when the crushes crush you, you die instantly, no matter how many HP you have or don't have or whatever. So yeah, this is the first set. So if you get caught up under one of those crushes, you die instantly and have to do the
Will do.
entire thing from the beginning again. So and Mash is trying a skip there thing. This is an old strat, and yes, he did, and now he's gonna do another high jump up to that ledge, and yeah, he basically skipped what's inside that silo there. Not sure if it was worth that, with how long it took him. But again, I'm not too comfortable about these strats. I never used them myself, and I hardly know anything about them. So now reached the point with the story trigger that the first part of the script that Dan used did. So this is what Dan would have had to do if he failed the first part of the factory skip. So yeah, basically he's going up this kind of sideways labyrinth, maze, whatever thing. But yeah, he now is at the second set of crushes. And yeah, again, he really does not want to get crushed by those things because... Ooh, that was scary. But he's alive. Being alive at this point is... That was a scary last crusher that he did there. It stopped for a second there, but he made it out of this alive, and this is literally the most important thing at this point, that you get through that alive. Because if you don't, if you die to those crashes, which again, it's really easily because they kill you in one hit, no matter what, so, and you have to do the entire fight over again. Mash deciding to take a safety save there before heading into the elevator towards Soshi. And yeah, now he's heading into the Soshi fight. And yeah, so he's probably within of 15 minutes of finishing, I guess. But I'm not sure how long he will take with the rest, especially not with his combat. Might be longer due to his combat techniques, but on the other hand, it might just me being... it still could be way off, so... Yeah, also you can see him, he is doing normal Soshi stuff, apparently. Oh no, he got on top of the outer bridge. And he fell down. So yeah, 2B won't stay on top of the bridge by herself. You will have to use aerial heavy attacks or jumps or holding jump to stay up there. But he's doing so. Yeah, he made it through the waiting phase. So now using some buffs and to hopefully get a clean Soshi fight out of this. And he got an annoying attack there. Soshi can be a really fast fight if you are lucky and have a decent execution and stuff. But Soshi can also take forever if you're unlucky with his attack pattern and your attacks. So Mash broke a leg there. In the current route you don't want that to happen because you have double damage glitch and stuff, which makes you deal a ton of damage, but I think Mash at this point did it intentionally because he has a lower damage output than current route has, so breaking the leg and making Soshi to fall down reveals his weak spot inside the tail, the yellow glowing thing, so he's not even going for that, so. Okay, he's trying to do it. So Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, he has not run the game in quite a while, but still nice to see him competing in the tournament. So he finished his Soshi fight and is now heading outside of the factory. So he is close to finishing now. Only having the boss rush left to do. Yeah, and Mash also doing the normal routing throughout this section. I can understand that it basically is the same out of bounds as in the prologue, but with the addition of those suiciding robots there, and those can throw off your movement, and he already had some problems with in the prologue with the out of bounds, so, and in this section it's even a little bit more difficult, so I'm not too surprised for him opting to not go for that. So outside the factory, and heading towards the burning resistance camp for that fight.
No thanks. I'm heading back to the resistance camp. What about you?
Oh, I'll probably wander back to the village. I have plenty on my plate there.
I see.
This is the resistance camp.
Say again? I'm not receiving.
Scanning for interference.
The machines requesting it. Backup. Forces in range. Please, we can...
Let's move.
So once again, if you like this game and are interested in running it yourself, check out the NieR Automata on speedrun.com. There we have a link to our Discord and a lot of resources that all the runners compile together to make learning all the strats easier. And so if you wanted to get started, check out all those resources. There are skip compilations and tutorial videos on YouTube and pretty in-depth route documents. And also go join the Discord. And there's a lot of experienced runners willing to answer your questions about the run if you have problems with anything or just talk about the game. So if you're interested and you think this might be something for you, try it out. It's an amazing game and it's not too difficult to speedrun. So he's at his combat in the resistance camp, and I'm not sure what level he is. Is that at level 16 for MASH? It would be incredibly low. Or is the 18? The stream resolution. I'll check out. Let me double check that. Yeah, he is level 16. So he is, I think he's a level behind. Let's see what happens once he kills that Goliath. Under normal circumstances, that Goliath should put him at level 18. That's probably not gonna happen. So yeah, he's quite a few levels behind. Which is pretty unfortunate. Makes things a lot harder. Yeah, he didn't even reach level 17 in that fight.
Huh? That was.
So yeah, that so he's probably not even gonna hit level 19 for the final boss.
You
again? Which is pretty unfortunate and makes things a lot harder, especially without the damage boost from damage glitches and yeah, what we do now. So he's probably gonna have a hard time on the final boss fight. Yeah, he probably had he was probably pretty unlucky, and he even did mooks, so must have been something really bad. Maybe a 9S stole his Goliath flyer or something like that. So he's really having a low experience, and yeah, those level ups. This is an RPG after all, and like in any RPG, a level up gives you a good boost in damage. So not being on level is going to hurt a lot in the final boss. So let's hope that he is able to finish this. Without dying again. And yeah, he got the ball form of Bokushi with really a lot of health left. Usually in the speedrun, when we reach this point, we want him, once he enters that ball form, we want him to have a minimal amount of HP left so that he dies in one hit after, because his attacks and his movement in that form is really annoying. But with that level and those older combat techniques, he's gonna struggle a lot with this. So Mesh just finished his Bokushi and is at his core 1 fight. That's 3 bosses left for him to kill until he's finished with the run. And Yeah, not having too much luck with Core 1. Core 1 is a pretty annoying fight for the fact that he's flying. So it's really hard to hit him with melee attacks. We do have a strat where we go up on the top of the hill, so we have a higher position compared to the core, which, due to the core's flying, puts us at the same height, and we can basically hit him with he can hit them with melee attacks easily. It might have been that Mesh lost some experience on a corpse back here. The thing with this game is, if you die in this game, you don't lose the progress. You just respawn. But when you die, you leave behind a corpse at the point where you died, and that corpse houses all your plug-in chips that you had equipped, and all of the experience that you gained since saving last time. So it might have been that he, since Mesh did die, I think twice in his run, it might have been that he lost some experience inside a corpse that he either did not pick up or was unable to pick up, because he left it in an area that he wasn't able to access again.
What do we do? There's too many.
2B? 2B, can you hear me?
So he finished off Core 1,
Pascal?
and now heading towards Pascal's village and Core 2. So he's really close to the end now.
Damn it! They're here too!
It seems the machines on the network have gone berserk. They've sealed off.
So he's now at the fight at the village, killing off those machines.
There's only so much.
Not too many of them, so he should be able to kill them off rather quickly with Dawn and his buffs. And the Core 2 fight, yeah, went decently. He should be able to kill it now. Oh, no, he did not. Oh, he wasn't able to kill him with downing him once. So yeah, again, this is probably due to his damage output. He's not doing the double damage glitches, and I'm not sure if he's even doing single damage glitches at the moment. He hasn't been to the speed game for a while, so he's using some pretty old strats, and that's why it's taking a while. But he managed to hit level 19 there, so if I saw that correctly, so he's gonna have the same level that Dan finished on, and it's not gonna be as bad for him as I feared it might be.
We'll take care of Eve.
You just worry about keeping the village safe, okay?
Do be careful.
And he entered the fight against Eve. and Eve was invisible for a second there. That was weird. But whatever, he's fighting Eve now. And yeah, that's probably gonna be a longer fight for him than for Dan. Again, he's using, because of his older combat strats. I just hope he does not die again. So close to the being finished with this. And yeah, Eve just did a move called platforms. Basically summons a lot of platforms. You're doing some jumping stuff to get on top of this middle platform where Eve is and attack him some more. If you deal enough damage to Eve fast enough, you can skip these platforms, and that's what Dan did, and that's what most of us do now, but Mash was not able to pull that off. So he's almost finished with phase 1 there. Eve now healing back up. So
She's absorbing the life force of whatever's left on the network.
Eve healed himself back to full health. And
Shutting him down. Back me up, 2B.
On it. Protecting Unit 9S while he hacks the system.
he's having some problems again, but yeah. 9S, when Dan did it, he did it pretty fast, so couldn't explain too much, but the thing with this fight is Eve is healing himself due to being connected to the machine network, so 9S is now hacking him to forcefully disconnect him from the network, and we have to attack Eve while 9S is doing that. So Nash is doing pretty well with the old strats and the rather low level. So he should be through phase 2 pretty soon at this pace. Yes. So he's on phase 3 now. So he's almost finished with this run. And he's using the second pod they picked up in the desert with the missiles to deal his damage. Some interesting alternate strats they lock on to him, but he's having some problems sometime. Switch back to pod A. So yeah, I mentioned this earlier, so what you want to do in this end boss fight is, at least with current strats, just attack him with the pod and heal every damage that you take. Yeah, so if he doesn't mess it up too hard, then he should be able to finish this without dying. So yeah, he seems to have not too many recoveries left. So he has to be a little bit careful on those. I'm not sure about it. He's been not using them too much the entire run. I think... Yes, I think he is down to 10 recoveries, if I saw that correctly just now, so that's hard on him, but he managed to finish phase 3, so he's on phase 4 now. Really hope he's able to pull that off. Not much recoveries left. The problem is, if he dies now, he only gets reset back to the beginning of phase 3, this boss fight. But he does not get back all the recovery items that he used. And at this point, he really needs those to decently finish off this run, so dying at this point would be really bad for him. But I think he's gonna pull this off. Yes, and he managed to do this. At this point, it's just, again, waiting for NieR to finish his dialogue, and when the cutscene starts, that's time for him to.
No. It's okay. I can always reload my backup data from the bunker.
So, good job, Mesh, for finishing this. And I think we do have time for a small interview. So let me check that real quick.
Please, Tubi. I want you to do this for me.
So this was a really decent run from on Mash's side there, and so yeah, there we have him. Good job, Mash.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of stuff went wrong.
Yeah, a lot of stuff went wrong, but he finished it, and
yeah, I pushed to finish because I was that close.
Yeah. You have not been running this in a long time.
Yeah, it's been about a year.
So, yeah, a year since you actually ran it the last, and were you able to do a lot of matches to warm up for this?
I mean, not really. I've been quite busy with other stuff since then, but I mean, I did grind out a good 8 hours at least to refamiliarize myself with the route, at least at the bare bones. So
yeah, so.
But I was struggling a bit on those fights for sure.
Yeah, you were struggling a bit on the fights, and you were using a lot of old strats, some of the strats that I actually never saw, and
yeah,
probably a lot of the other runners never saw.
Yeah, the Fang was an old part of the original route where we would use that while cycling damage glitch, and while that was floating, we would get in a nice 300 damage hit from the Twin Fang.
Yeah.
And we just rotate that in the whole time, and it seems to work fairly well. I mean, it's not as fast as double damage glitching, but I mean, it's easier on the hands if you don't want to do it that way. But I mean, you have to go out of your way to get it. So
yes, so yeah, basically makes the combat in the game the same as we have in Prologue, with the large sword and the small sword.
Yeah.
In the light attack slot. So. Yeah, I think you died twice, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I was counting, and I think I died.
You died to to Beauvoir and to negotiations.
Yeah, negotiations. I wasn't actually expecting that to happen, but what happened is I went into negotiations without any heals.
Yeah, I saw that you ran out of those. Probably also because you died on Beauvoir.
Yeah.
And you lose quite a bunch of more than you should have in that fight. So you did not have any left for negotiations.
It's funny how hard some of these fights actually are when you don't have those buffs and you don't have heals, because you're extremely underleveled, and most of these enemies, and especially the bosses while you're taunting, can literally kill you in 2 hits.
Yes. So yeah, especially the last fight against Eve, that one is pretty tough. So yeah.
But congratulations to Danflesh there.
Yeah, that was my last race on the tournament, so
yeah.
I'm eliminated
in the group stage. So probably probably sadly not enough to make it to the final round.
Rip.
But you managed to get a win in at the end, so good job there.
Thank you.
So I don't know, do any one of you two wants to say anything?
Thanks for commentating this match.
Yeah,
that was really something.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a fun race to watch, and it was, well, Dan did win by almost an hour in the end, but still seeing all those older strats from MASH was pretty interesting. And
well, I mean, it just goes to show how much the run's really changed since a year ago.
Yes. So in a year, most of the stuff, I mean, the combat is entirely different, and a lot of the other stuff is pretty much different. So that's pretty understandable that you did not catch up to this. So yeah, you're planning to look into some of the newer strats for the rest of the tournament.
I'm definitely gonna try to brush up a bit more, and I definitely do want to cut down my actual PB for sure. At least that's my goal, is to get that down as close as I can. And I mean, it's just one of those things, trying to get myself wedged back into the game a little bit here and there, right? So just an excuse to speedrun the game again, I guess.
Yeah, so, and it is nice of you to have joined the tournament, even though you are not up to date with the strats since. Well, it's good. It's nice to even see the not the top runners compete in this.
I mean, in the end, it's really about pushing yourself as best you can, and I mean, just trying to have a good time in the end. Really, I mean,
yes.
Before starting the race, I was a bit stressed out, but I mean, I kind of relaxed a little bit more, even though I was dying. But overall, I think, I mean, I'm glad I was able to finish. But
yes, that's exactly what this is about. And having fun.
Yeah.
Having fun is important too. So, yeah, thanks to both of you to participating in this tournament and running this. And I think we're done with this now. If not, so yeah, I want to thank you two guys for running. I want to thank the guys of the community, especially Canaris, who did a lot, but also everyone else who organized this tournament. It's been a lot of fun doing this, and I want to thank Speed Gaming for hosting this on their channels. And yeah, so you liked it, come back to the next races, check out the schedule, and maybe follow those runners and support them a bit and watch them again if you're interested. So have a good day, everyone.